after a long multi-day severe weather outbreak that took place in the Midwest and is finishing up, there is a chance for another one. This is the current watches and warnings that have been placed out. In the red down here, these are tornado warnings and flash flood warnings. The yellow is a tornado watch, and all that green, the dark green is a flash flood watch, and the light green is a flash flood warning. Now, this this is what the system that had caused significant tornadoes in Oklahoma, Kansas, Iowa, and Nebraska in the last few days has finally moved on down here. However, the threat for storms is not over. The SPC has put out a enhanced risk for today for large hail and damaging winds and isolated tornado threat. This would just be for that finishing kind of line of storms that had happened yesterday and the day before that. Orange shaded is an enhanced, yellow is slight. Orange is where the greatest threat for the damaging wind and large hail and tornado threat is. Now, I'm not going to say that there's going to be storms up here because there very well could be, but right now, if you're in the orange, pay extra attention to any watches or warnings. If you're in the yellow, pay close attention. But orange, you want to pay more attention. Let's take a look at the forecast. Let's take a look at what the weather models have to say for the rest of today, and then let's get into something more interesting that has came up. So this is what the radar could look like. As you know, as we move ahead here, we can see these very intense storms down here firing, and then eventually these will also fire. The isolated tornado threat will be down here for any storms that can get out ahead, and I'll zoom in. I just want to show you an overall first. And if we move it on, it'll just become a long line that'll push. This will just become a very long congealed line that'll just push off into the east and cause some light storms here tomorrow. Marginal risk, nothing big. Let's zoom in here. So this is right now. There's a few tornado warnings right now in this area. No confirmed that I know of right now. A few supercells. The risk for supercells does continue. But if we push this ahead, you can see more storms begin to fire up here. And eventually even more that are in this area currently. More will fire. And those ones that are in there now will move up and try to congeal earlier with those there. If we push this on, you can see that tornado threat. We're gonna take a look at what makes tornadoes, but if you were to just look off radar, you could say that this would be a perfect candidate for a tornado outbreak. See, it's all curved. This is all curved, but that's not the case. It's a very isolated risk. There is a chance, but it's not massive. At least I don't think. I haven't looked. And then as the radar hours continue, this will just congeal to a long line, and likely warrant a severe thunderstorm watch in areas east of this main line that'll form, if this holds true, that'll form later down the line. Let's take a look at surface-based CAPE. So surface-based CAPE values, this is what's warranting that isolated tornadic risk. 3,000 to 4,000 joules per kilogram in areas. Again, nothing too much. I mean, it's still pretty high. Supercell composites also what's warranting that, but if we scroll this, you can see it holds true, but it weakens out significantly. And then when that line forms, when that long line of storms congeals up here, it significantly dies out. There's still isolated areas, but it's nothing massive like it is now, but it's an isolated threat. Significant tornado parameters, again, this actually shows them being fairly weak. Again, the only major kind of tornadic threat would be way down here with those and first supercells that had initiated, and even up here maybe when those initiate, but it's not going to be too much. If we take a look at photographs, this is what basically says if it's rotating or not. As you can see, mostly areas that are in the Cape have the curved hooks, but everywhere else really don't. So, like I said, very isolated risk. It's a very isolated risk. Lapse rates, too, are not very strong at all. They're only about 7 to 8, which is high, but it's not too bad. So, I mean, and that's even in isolated areas. Again, it's an isolated risk. But this is the most unstable cape. I'll just show this really fast. This is what's the most unstable currently. Like, what has the biggest chance of intensifying. Most unstable. You see as that line forms. It's weird because the line forms out here, but there's still cape values pushing up through here, which it's not uncommon because that line's already passed here, so cape values can begin pulling up for a potential storm, another potential storm outbreak. However, it will be much more on the downside. So, let's take a look at the U.S. So, let me get out of here. So, this is right now, right? This is what, right, actually, let me show you the SPC. So, this is today's risk. Day 2, like I said, is that marginal, but here is day 3 and 4. If we come on down here to day 3, a slight risk for the areas that were hit recently are now eyed up again. And to make matters worse, a day 4 slight risk has been put out in parts of Kansas and Oklahoma. This is where its uncertainty begins to grow. Like I said, for the other storm system, we didn't know much until basically the last minute, and violent tornadoes had tore across Iowa, Nebraska, Kansas, and Oklahoma. But this was the day 4, and again, another potential risk begins. Day 3, slight risk, same areas that got hit. And then day 4 just comes on down here. The same areas get hit again and again. If we take a look at the probabilistic, as you see, there's a 15% chance in the yellow shaded region. 15% in the yellow shaded. Let's take a look at the radar for that day. And again, this is far out, so things could change. So here's that line I was talking about. That's going to push off onto the east, cause some rain showers for the Ohio Valley. Here's that low pressure system, which would warrant that day 3 slight risk right there. It, like, give or take a few miles. If we continue pushing on, you can see slight risk here. Here's that low pressure system. This is showing a strong line of storms down here. So this would be an honestly wide area. And then that dies out. And then again, where that slight risk is, more storms fire with this low pressure system. This model is showing something slightly different to what we've been seeing. That'll move on across. And then another chance. That way down the line, but that's way down the line. So here, we'll run it. Boom. Oh my gosh. There is day 1. This is today. Then day 1, or day 3. Then day 4. And then maybe even day 5. Again, the same areas that got hit by those violent storms, this general area, are going to get hit again. How significant? Likely not too much, but it could be significant enough to be another kind of major thing. That is all for right now. This is Severe Weather Center, and I will see you guys in the next one. Have a great day.